Okay, fellas. Today's daf is Yesodis Shebi Yesodis. It's it's one of the basic sugyas of what's called Haruvas in the Torah. So we're familiar with the concept of bittul beroiv. Roiv, according to the Torah, we say achrei rabbim lahatos. You go after the rabbin. You have a majority. We see it in Bezdin. We see it. You mix two things in one thing. Really, midaraisa. However, we know in addition that there are other amounts that you're familiar with. So, for example, you're familiar with the amount of called shishim. Shishim is 60 times the amount of isser. Usually is what is we call noisein tam. If something can give tam, it's the share of that is shishim. Anything that is more than shishim cannot give tam. Anything less than shishim can give tam, can give flavor. There are other things that are more chamer. We are familiar with. We've had in this Masechta the idea of being mevatel truma. Truma is 100 to 1. Arla klei karim is 200 to 1. And then there are things that are filu be'elef leibatel. A list of things. A birya, if you have a birya, if you have something that's a living thing, a whole living thing is a filu elef leibatel. If it's something that you could davashesh leimatirin, if it's something davashe b'minyan. So there are all kinds of halachas of taruvis. Now we have to be machalik in taruvis. Today we're not going to be machalik between yavesh v'yavesh and lach b'lach. This is the chilik between whether it's the transfer of issa is in a dry venue or a wet venue. But the main nekuda today is whether min b'minay or min b'shein minay. In other words, if min falls b'shein minay, if you have chicken soup and the issa that's in there is dam, right? So it's two different things. Min b'shein minay. That is b'shishim. If it's min b'minay, if it's treifa chicken soup and kosher chicken soup, but if you have a treifa chicken and a kosher chicken soup, then it's a machloikis between Reb Yehuda and the Chachamim. Le Reb Yehuda, min b'minay is like batel. That min b'minay is not batel, but like the Chachamim, it's batel b'shishim. You can't taste it, right? So you don't go after taste, you go after amounts. So when we mashaya that if you have 60 times the kosher chicken soup versus the treifa chicken soup, it would work. So we're going to see a machlokas today between Rab and Shmuel and Rabbi Yochanan regarding chametz. Now chametz, we're going to see there's an extra stringency. Chametz, guys, can zayin that it's asu afilu mashahu, even a little bit of aser. And I made a little chart to go ahead and explain it. Let's get this chart up here. Okay. You have two zmanim. You have two zmanim. You have during Pesach bismanoi and shaloi bismanoi, and after Pesach. So you have bismanoi ushaloi bismanoi. You have two possibilities. The chametz falls in b'mino or falls in einay minoi. Rab says b'minoi is going to be asa b'mashahu, not shishim. Mashahu is going to asa. We'll see a reason in Rashi, right? Because einay mino he also holds b'mashahu. So bishlema, guys, you'll tell me min b'mino b'chametz is asa. He holds like Rabbi Yehuda. Rabbi Yehuda says min b'mino is not batal. But why in the world, by einay minoi, why shouldn't it be permitted? Why shouldn't it be permitted? Einay minoi, what's wrong with einay minoi? So the answer is since chametz is an isakaris, and not only an isakaris, because chaylev and dam are also an isakaris, but it's something like badal inchi minei. A person doesn't separate from chametz, guys, because they're used to it the whole year. Therefore, says Rav, we have the extra chumrah that it's also b'mashahu. This is all during Pesach. What about after Pesach? Shaloi bismanoi. What about after Pesach? After Pesach, minoi is still asa. Bistalasa, Eina Mina will be Mutta. So this is the Shita of Rav. We'll see Shmuel Shita, that's Asa B'Masha, who he agrees over here. He disagrees over here, he says it's Batal. And here, after Pesach, it's totally Mutta. Rabbi Yochanan Shita is not Asa B'Mashahu, it's Asa B'Shishin, B'Tam. And after Pesach, it's totally Mutta. So Rav is the most Chamidik Shita. We'll see the Gemara inside, and we'll refer back to the chart as a means of understanding exactly what's going on. Okay, so we're a little behind, but again, it didn't make sense to begin this yesterday because it's really a sugi b'fnei atzmai. We're beginning on Chaf Tes Amid Beis, Amarav, in the middle, mamish smack in the middle of the page. Amarav, Chametz Bizmanoi, Chametz during Pesach, Bein B'minoi, Bein Shaloi B'minoi, whether it's the chametz and chametz, it's the same min, or shalai b'minai, or it's, let's say it is shalai b'minai. Let's say it's shalai b'minai. You usually say that's what, that's batal. Nonetheless, over here we're going to say that what that it is asr. That is during Pesach. Shalai b'zman after Pesach b'minai asr, shalai b'minai muta. That's Rav Shita. So again, going over Rav Shita, and we'll explain it in a sec. During Pesach, both Aser. After Pesach, Mina Yasa, Einai Mina is Muta. Now the Gemara goes to find the reasoning. The Gemara is going to try to find the reasoning. B'mayaskina, what's the ratio that we're speaking about over here? B'mayaskina. Elaim b'benai saying tam, if the Isser has enough to give tam, meaning you don't have Shishim, Shaloi Bizmanoi, Shaloi B'minai Muta. If it's Shaloi Bizman, I mean after Pesach, it's going to be Muta. Why in the world would it be Muta? Hayav Tam. In this scenario, guys, in this scenario over here, why should it be Muta? Einai Minai Muta. Shaloi Bizmanai, Einai Minai is Muta. Why? If it's giving Tam, it's not Batal, it should be Aser. So obviously it can't be speaking about Nice and Tam. Or else, why would Rav hold its Muta? Shalei b'minai. Ella must be speaking b'mashahu. That has nothing to do with Tam. It must be what? The Isser is b'mashahu. Chametz, the Isser b'mashahu. Now, Chametz b'zmanai, Chametz in the zmanai, bein b'minai, bein shalei b'minai, Aser. Chametz b'zmanai, in Chametz b'zmano, guys, right? B'zmanai, whether it's minai, whether it's einai minai, it's asa b'mashu, as you see in the chart in front of you, correct? Says the Gemara, Rav l'tamei. Rav goes according to his reasoning. The Rav with Shmuel, Dami Trabayu, they're both of the opinion. Both Rav and Shmuel are of the opinion that kol yisurim shebetayra, all yisurim in the Torah, b'minoi b'mashahu. The issur is b'mashahu, like Rabbi Yehuda, min b'minoi leibatal. It's b'mashahu. Shalei b'minoi. If it's min b'she'enai mina, it's two different species. Then b'naisin tam. Then b'naisin tam. So therefore over here, what do you have? We understand over here. It's why b'mashu, right? So since einai mina, it's mashu, it's mutter. Good. Here and over here, it's asa. Now, why over here is it asa? We have to explain. And shlei b'zmanoi, why is it asa? We have to explain. Says the Gemara. Rav goes the chametz bizmanoi shaloi b'minoi. Rav is geyser bizmanoi during Pesach shaloi b'minoi to minoi. So this is a gezerah, guys. Look, einai mina usually is batal b'shishin. He's geyser this to this. Again, because of the isser of karis and because people don't separate from it, he's geyser einai minoi to minoi. That explains Rav Shita here. Good. Ushaloi bizmanoi, b'minoi asa keReb Yehuda. Shaloi bizmanoi, like any other isser, is asa like Reb Yehuda because he holds min b'minoi leibata. Ushaloi b'minoi muta, and the shaloi b'minoi is muta. Now, question: why don't you guys are over here? The shaloi bizmanoi, shaloi b'minoi ata minoi kuli hai loigasrina. In other words, the Gemara is asking a question, fellas. If he's geyser from here to here, why isn't he geyser einai minoi shalei bizmano ataminoi? So far, when there's no isakaris, I guess we're not going to be geyser in this scenario. But over here, we're going to be geyser. So again, just going over Rav Shita, Rav says Kol Isun Shebetayra Min B'Minai is Einai Batal, like Rav Yehuda. That would explain why Minai is Aser. He's Geyser Einai Minai, which usually is Batal B'Shishim. He's Geyser Atu Minai. Why? Because of the fact that it's an Issachar, and in addition, people don't separate from it. Shalai Bismana, after Pesach, B'Minai it's Aser, because he also like Rabbi Yehuda, Min B'Minai Batal. And Einai Mina would be Muta, because since it's a Mashu, it's Batal, but much more than Shishim. And we're not Kaiser, Einai Mina at the Minai, Shaloi Bismani. That does the Shitas of Rav. Clear, guys? Good, great. Now, Shmuel Amar, Chametz Bismanoi B'Minai Aser. Let's say along with the chart. Chametz Bismanoi, Chametz Bismanoi, right? B'Minoi, here it is. It's Aser, the same thing. Shaloi B'Minoi Muta. He's obviously not going to make the Gezerah. Shaloi Bismanoi, Bein B'Minoi, Bein Shaloi B'Minoi Muta. Now, the question is, why does it work over here? Chametz Bismanoi B'Minoi Aser. Chametz Bismanoi B'Minoi Aser. Looking at the chart, guys, right? Why is it Aser over here? Shmuel Tamei, the Rabbi Shmuel David Shavayu, Kol Yisurim Shebetayra, B'Minoi Asurim B'Mashahu. He also like Rabbi Yehuda. Shaloi B'Minoi B'Noisin Tam. Right? Shaloi B'Minoi, if it's not the same species, so Tam can be Mavatal it. Shaloi B'Minoi Atamina Loi Gazer. Why does Rav hold it's Aser, guys? Remember, because Rav was Gazer this utter this. Shmuel is not Gazer. Einai Mino Atamino. He's not Gazer. Shaloi Bismani, Bein B'Mina, Bein Shaloi Bismina Mutarim, Kirav Shimon. He also like of Shimon, that Chometz after Pesach, Shaloi Bismani is Mutar B'Hana. So let's go through it again, guys. Let's go through Shmuel now. Shmuel. Minoi is Asa B'Mashu. Look at the chart, guys. Minoi is Asa B'Mashu. He also like Rabbi Yehuda. That the Chometz, because of its fact that's it, right? It's in the Sakaris, and it's very Chomer. It's Asa B'Mashu. Einai Mino is Mutar because he's not Geyser. Einai Mino at the Mino. Mutar because since it's a Mashahu, it's Batal. After Pesach, he holds like of Shimon. Since he holds like of Shimon, it's Mutar across the board. Good? Okay. One more opinion. Rabbi Yochanan says, Chametz Bismanoi, Bein B'Minoi, Bein Shaloi B'Minoi Asa. Chametz Bismanoi, in this man, even during Pesach, whether it's Minoi, whether it's Einai Minoi, is going to be what B'Noisin Tam. Meaning, if you have 60, it's going to be it's Aser until 60. After 60, it's going to be Batal. Right? Obviously, he doesn't know like Rabbi Yehuda. Shaloi Bismanoi, Bein B'Minoi, Bein Shaloi B'Minoi Muta. And over here, it's going to be Muta. Because you get a look of Shimon. Chametz Bismanoi, going back over to Shita. Chametz Bismanoi, Bein B'Minoi, Bein Shaloi B'Minoi, B'Noisin Tam. Rabbi Yochanan Tamei, Rabbi Yochanan Reish Lakish, Tamei Shavayu, they argue Rav and Shmuel. Kol Yisurim Shebetayra, Bein B'Minon, Bein Shaloi B'Minon. All Yisurim in the Torah, whether it's Min B'Minoi or whether it's Lo B'Minoi, B'Noisin Tam. They all like the Rabbana, not like Rabbi Yehuda. U'Shaloi Bismanoi, Bein B'Minoi, Bein Shaloi B'Minon, Mutarim Karev Shimon. So very geschmack. Very geschmack. So you have, guys, the Shitas of Rav and Shmuel also over here because they all like Rabbi Yehuda. That Min B'Mino Le Batal. The Shita Rabbi Yochanan is Min B'Min is Batal. There's no difference between Mino and Einai Mino. Therefore, here and here would be Bismanu during Pesach. The Shir would be Shishim. Over here, he also like of Shimon. That would be Muta. Those are the different Shitas. Those are the three Shitas in Tarubis. Now, Amar Rava says Rava Amar Aleph. Hilchasa, the halacha is Chametz Bismanoi, Chametz during Pesach, Bein B'Minoi, Bein Shaloi B'Minoi, Asa B'Mashu Kirav. Not like Rabbi Yochanan, not like Shmuel, but like Rav. Bein B'Minoi, Bein Shaloi B'Minoi, it would be what? It would be Asa. Shaloi Bismanoi after Pesach, Bein B'Minoi, Bein Shaloi B'Minoi, Muta, right? It'd be Muta. Right? Even if it's nice saying Tam, it would be Muta Kireb Shimon, because Reb Shimon holds that Chametz Shalom Pesach is Muta. So even if it gives Tam, we don't care. It's all a kanas. It's all a kanas. Okay? Fred the Gemara. Umi Ama Rava Hachi. Does Rava really say so? That the halacha is like Rav? Vama Rava, Rabbi Shimon Kanasa Kanis. Hoya v'avalov bal Yeroy bal Yematzeh. So l'chayra, why, if the Pesach is a muta, he does give a kanas. So later Rav Shimon, if the Pesach, it should be asa. You'd have to be mevatel it. Guys, here's what I was saying. If the Pesach, no bittul required. If the Pesach, muta, like Rav Shimon. Fred the Gemara, Rav Shimon gives a kanas. He says chametz alav shel Pesach. Again, according to the chametz of a yid, if the Pesach, since he was over on Bal Yeroah, Bal Yematzeh, we cancel him. So why over here is it mutter? It should be what? B'nai Saint Tam. There's Issa there. So says the Gemara, when is that? When is that then? Hani mili be'ena. That's when the chametz is there. There's a substance of chametz. Aval al-yidei taruvis, but if it's mixed together, al-yidei taruvis, loy. Then we don't cancel. Then we do not give a kanas. Follows the Rava Tamei, and Rava goes according to his reasoning. The Amar Rava, because he holds like Reb Shimon. Ki havi bei Rav Nachman, when we buy Rav Nachman, ki havi nafik shiva, when the 7 days were over, Yom de Pischa, when the 7 days of Pesach were over, Amarlan, he would tell us, Poku v'zvini chamira de b'nei chela. Go ahead and buy bread from the goyim. Go buy bread from the goyim. He would say right after Pesach, and we don't hear about the fact that since it was Rav Shimon, it's mutter right away. Now, l'chayra, I don't know what the raya is. First of all, it apparently seems to be that it belongs to a goy. So look at Rashi. Rashi addressed it. V'az the Rava, dama aloch Rav Shimon l'tamei, dama nami ba'al mochamet shel nachri she'avalo Pesach mutter af ba'achila. It's mutter not only anah. It's even mutter ba'achila. That's the right. It's mutter ba'achila. Since there's no reason to make a kanas. Because again, the kanas is also bal Yeroah. You're not over bal Yeroah and a goy's chametz. The Rav Yehuda chametz stomacham, avafil denachri would be usher. So you see, also like Rav Shimon. The Torah over here, there's two Torahs. One, this isn't chutzlar. It's why it's 7 days of Pesach. It's 8 days of Pesach. Right? Secondly, how could you buy pas akum? They were makbid on pas akum. So the Mefarshim speak out over here. It's speaking that they didn't buy the baked bread. They bought the dough, the dough that was in the hands, not the bread. The baked bread they wouldn't have bought, but dough they would have bought. Now, when it says over here, the halacha, Rabbi says the halacha is like Rav. We have a huge machlokes Rashi and Tosfos. Let's see the machlokes. Amar Rabbi, top Rashi. Hilchasa, Shmamina, the pasuk Rava, Hilchasa, the Chol Isurim Shebetoira, all Isurim in the Torah, all Isurim, B'minon, if it's min b'minoi, b'mashahu, V'lei Shonilon ben Chametz l'shari Surei, and there's no difference between Chametz and other Isurim. So according to this statement, Rashi, it's not limited to Chametz, it's everything. Min b'minoi is like batal, any taruvis. El b'hom milsa de gaza shlei b'minon ataminon, shamini mina, chalav shenafel kadera, that is geyser from the Rabbi's geyser, shaloi b'minon atamina, the chalav shenafel kadera, oise b'mashahu. V'chein halacha, that I guess chalav shenafel kadera, oise b'mashahu. V'chein halacha. V'hod the kaim lon kol yisun shebetorah b'shishim, v'shaloi b'minahu. So therefore he says that min b'minoi is not batal, min b'minoi is not batal b'chala Torah kula, right? And batal b'shishim is only by min b'sheina minoi. So that's Rashi Shita. That Rav is the halacha here in Masechta Pesachim is a universal din, not limited to chametz, but extending to any of these surim in the Torah. If you look at Tosfos, right? Tosfos disagrees. Tosfos says, right? Go down. The Gam Rav Yehuda going about 7-8 lines up from the Gemara. The Gam Rav Yehuda going Pasach Kain Dafka b'Chometz Pesach Rav Karav. Daf gets it in Pesach by Chometz, but not in Kol Torah Kula. So it's a huge machlokes. when Rab Paskins over here, the min b'mino is it bottle or not? Is it a din in Kol Torah Kulov, or only a din that's unique to chametz?
Rabbi, how did you answer the thing about Chutz La'aretz and being a
I
7
didn't
days?
answer it. I didn't answer it. Charubas chametz b'mashahu. Shulchan Aruch Siman Tov Mem Zayin Aleph and Beis. Midoraisa havi chametz kishar yisurim. Midoraisa chametz is like any other iser. Shenis arvu shenis arvu. She'ena an oisrim taruvasan ela kedei litain tam b'taruvos tahainu at shishim. Midoraisa shishim. Ela shechacham mechmiru ba. The chacham were machmer. Kiven the isbei kares v'lei bedili minei kulashasa. Since it's an issue of kares and people don't separate the whole year, right? Therefore, the issue is b'mashu. Therefore, the issue is b'mashu. What about guys mishei shoysu l'mayla? Now you're not allowed to eat chametz mishei shoysu l'mayla. What about a taruvus chametz mishei shoysu l'mayla? So it's very geschmack, guys. Since the whole reason for the chumrah is also issue kares, you'd only need the Isser of Mashu where there's an Isser Karis. Since from 6 hours and above, there is no Isser Karis. There's only Isser Karis at night, then the share would be Shishim. So a tremendous nafkamina. Let's say you have a Tarubis, your Chametz falls in from Erev Pesach. It won't Asa. It only will Asa the night of Pesach, because then there's an Isser Karis. Since during the day, even though there's an Isser Achila, since there's no Isser Karis, Memela what? The din of Tarubis would not be b'mashu; it would be b'shishim. It's a very nice nafkamina in halacha.
You don't make a siyog on a siyog, I guess, right?
Again, it doesn't fit. It doesn't fit. It doesn't fit the. Okay, guys, good. You have a little. It's going to continue now with also again you say this thick of Gemara. It's a bit. You say this, and anyone learns Yardeya, this is one of the Gemaras they look up here, and Abai Zara, there's certain Gemaras that they look up. Amarav, Kederis b'Pesach, you have Kederis b'Pesach, you have pots on Pesach, Yishabru, you should go ahead, and break them. Now, Pashtus, you're speaking about a pot that was of Cheres, that had an absorption of Issa. V'amai, why should you break them? L'shinu acha Pesach u'la'ovid b'hu shaloi b'mina, because they right. So why don't you go ahead and keep them after Pesach, right? Just keep them after Pesach. U'la'ovid b'hu shaloi b'minon, says Rashi. Yishabru rabla tameda mechametz af la'achas mana yasa. Even after Pesach, it's also b'hana. Reb Yehuda, the islay b'mashu ukasava noisein tam lefagam is also. In other words, there's a din like this, guys. The biggest heta you have if your wife messes stuff up in the kitchen is a kli that hasn't been used that day. If the keli has not been used that day, if it's not what we call in the trade a ben yomo, then any issa that's coming out is not flavorful. It's called noisein tam lifgam. It gives tam, but like pagam, like a blemish. It doesn't. There's certain halachas that if it's a davar charif, it can go ahead and make the pagam fresh again. But regardless, usually in a normal situation, if the kli is not a ben yomo, even if you take a milk thicker spoon that you ate breakfast with, and you had hot milk with it, and it's a few days old, and you stick it in a cholent, it's not a problem. It's not a problem. It's not a problem.
Don't we say that by Pasach and Musa? That's the heta, right? That we're not concerned about a ben yoma by the tarfis for the goy, right?
I'm not sure.
I think the shah. I think this is.
It could be. Again, I'm not sure. I'm not going to tell you something I don't know. But so if you look at Rashi, it's so very important. We don't paskin like this, guys. None of us break our kalim after Pesach. Less hilchas lakavase mitrei taimei. The halacha is not like this for two reasons. Chada, duki Rabbi hilchas harubas la'achas manoi muta Rav Shimon. First of all, Rava said we paskin like Rava. Rav only paskin like Rav during Pesach. After Pesach, he paskin like what? Like Rav Shimon. And Rav Shimon only made the gezerah on something that was be'en, that was around. An absorption of Isser is not be'en. It's in the walls, right? The high pachas mitaruvis hu va'oid. The kaimon we also paskin, nois and tam lefgam is muta. V'zeh mishav lo Pesach. Hufik time may be from that kli. The tam has become what? Spoiled in the kli. So we don't paskin that you have to break your kalim. We don't paskin. Now, says, but the Gemara has the kashul, ovid behu shaloi bismana. Rav is moida that chometz shaloi bismana shaloi b'minoi is muta. So says Rashi, the moida Rav le'el, the chometz shaloi bismana, chometz after Pesach, shaloi b'minoi, b'mashu muta. B'hai mashu choshev lehu. So why is Rav answering it after Pesach? Why is Rav answering it after Pesach? It should be what? It should be permitted, right? It says that back in the Gemara. The reason why we don't make it shlei b'minoi, we may come to do it b'minoi, and b'minoi according to Rav is asa after Pesach was the like Rav Yehuda. Ushmul Amar lo yisharu, you don't have to break it. Aval mashalahu la'achas manoi v'avidu ben b'minoi ben shlei b'minoi. Okay. For us, the Shmuel Tamei Dam Shmuel lahanu d'mizavni kande. So to those who went ahead and they sold the mazvi kande, they sold pots. Ashvi zvine akandichi. Go ahead and set your price low. V'iloi dashinu l'chuk Rav Shimon al dashin like Rav Shimon, and therefore I'll put you out of business because I pass like Rav Shimon. People will be able to use their old kalim. Fred Gemara the lidrash lahud. Why don't you darshan that way? The Shmuel Rav Shimon spherulei takos like Rav Shimon. As he said, muta, right? La'achas manoi. Remember Shmuel on the line. La'achas manoi. Shmuel said what? Muta. Why? Because he held like Rav Shimon. So what's he threatening these guys? If you don't paskin that if you don't sell it cheap, why? So why? So the Gemara answers, Asrei the Rav Havi. It was the place of Rav. And Rav Takalda was Asa. So the Shmuel didn't want to go ahead and paskin, not like Rav. Ahu Tanura, there was this tanner, there was this oven. The Tachi Beitichya, they went ahead and they smeared the oven with kosher fat. Shumin, kosher fat. And Asra Rabba Bariloi, Lemichle Lerifta, Afil B'milcha La'olam. He asked it to go ahead and use any bread that was baked on this oven. He asked it La'olam to go ahead. Why? Maybe you'll come to go ahead and eat it with our famous kutach, right? Hold me back, right? Sourdough, milky dip, right? Or milky drip. Anyway, so bottom line is, he held this bread was fleishiks, and you're going to go ahead and use it with milchiks. Therefore, Rabbi Bariloi said, "What? It's asa, right?" Look at Rashi. Afilu la'olam, afilu chaza b'husak. Even if you go ahead and burn the oven out, afilu b'milcha lahachi nakat milcha, which is what? Afilu milcha salt. Shein derech lechol pas play melech or lifton. It's not the normal way to eat pas without some type of salt or dip. Okay, so this is his shita. Since the oven had a fleishika shumin put in it, that's it. Meisivei, we're going to ask on him. Ain't on Rabbi Bar Eloi. Ein loshen esa isa b'chalav. You can't knead bread with milk. Vim losh, and if you do, kol pas kula sura. All the pas is awesome from the hergel avera, because hergel avera you may come to eat a what with meat. Yitzabay of beis. Ein toshen esa tanur ba'alya. You can't go ahead and line the oven and coat the oven with kosher fat. Vim tosh kol pas kula sura. The whole pas is asar until when? Achiyasik is a tana until you burn out the tana. Hahusik a tana, but if the tana is burnt out, miya shari, it's muta. What did Rabbi Bariloi say? Said it's always asar. So tiyufta the Rabbi Bariloi tiyufta. It's an upshlag what on Rabbi Bariloi. So in other words, you burn out the oven and everything's muta. Omer Ravina Ravashi, the chimiaka did toisif Rabbi Bariloi. Since we slugged them up. Amai kama Rav Kederis Pesach Yishaberu, right? Why the Kederis and Pesach breaking? Just kash them the same way you kash the oven. Heat them up, just you heat up the oven, heat up the kedeiros. They're also under fire, right? The oven's a fire, and the kedeiros are fire. What's the svara? That the heat of the oven is going to expunge the issa that's there. So therefore, why did Rav paskin that you have to break it? Why don't you just expunge the kalim? Just expunge those pots. So Amalei Hasam Tanishal Matefes Hacha B'Kedera Shalcheres. Okay. Now the Havamina was speaking about an earthenware oven. So just like you can go ahead and kasher an earthenware oven in the Havamina, so too what you can kasher earthenware kalim. And the answer is no. The answer is that the Tana was made of metal. A metal Tana you can go ahead and kasher. A metal Tana you can go ahead and kasher. Metal. But a Tana that's made of what? Of cheres, ain't nothing you can't kasher. But who had din kalim made of cheres, you cannot kasher. Therefore, Rav said you had to break them. So that's one teretz. Why Rav said to break them. Vivay b'seima, haba haba shel cheres. They're both speaking about cheres. So if they're both speaking about cheres, what's the difference between a tanner that you can kasher and a kedera that you can't? So when you have a pot, where's the heat source? Inside the pot or outside the pot? It's outside the pot. An oven, where's the heat source? Picture a cheres, right? It's a picture like a pizza oven, right? The heat is inside the oven. Inside the oven, it's much hotter than when it's outside the oven. So therefore, by a kedera where it's outside, you have to break it. By the tanner, since the heat is inside the oven, you can kasher it. Conversely, the pot which is outside, therefore you have to break it. Why do you breaking it? Take a bunch of coals, put them inside the kli cheres, and then you'll have a heat source inside. Says the Gemara, a person will have rachmanis not to make it that hot, mishum de paka. Therefore, of course, it'll break, it'll crack it. So therefore, a person will go ahead and have rachmanis on his pot, and therefore he won't do it correctly. So therefore, they didn't allow it. By an oven, it won't crack. By a pot, it'll crack. Hilkach. Therefore, hai buchya, this tile ring has sekum bechutz who for asa. You heat it from the outside, it's asa. However, the malya goimrei, if you do fill it with what? With coals, and it doesn't, and you're not worried about it cracking, then shapadomi, then you would be able to kasher it. Omer Avinu Ravashi, Hani Sachini b'Pisla. Now, guys, keep in mind that we are Baruch Hashem. We're a society that Baruch Hashem, we all have new kelim for Pesach. We have new kelim for Pesach. You know, even though we speak about Haggalah, in fact, in Yerushalayim, the Haggalah is a much bigger thing here than the United States. Haggalah, it's a business there because people pack their kelim. Their people are poor and they do Haggalah on their kelim. Us, by and large, we don't do Haggalah on our kelim. Yerushalayim, they have street corners, kids with huge pots and doing Haggalah, which is going ahead and using a liquid medium to go ahead and expunge a liquid transfer of Issa. We're going to get into the sugya of kibolo, just as it absorbs, kach polto. So the way it goes in, that's the way it comes out. So if something goes in through a liquid medium, you're able to go ahead and expunge it. You're able to go ahead and kasher it through a liquid medium. If something goes in with fire, something goes in what's called fire, then it's required libun. Libun is heating something up to a very, very high degree to go ahead and mamish put it in a fire to get it out. So that's the sugya over here. So hani sakini the piska, the knives that we use on Pesach, the knives that we use on Pesach. Heichi avdin lahu. What should we do to go ahead and kasher them? So amalei lididi chadet. Here's what I do. Chadeta amalei lididi chadeta koavdinan. Said Rav Ashi, I buy new ones. I buy new ones. That's what I do. So amalei. So Ravina told Rav Ashi, peinach mar the efshalei. That's very good. The efshalei. Rashi says you're a rich guy, right? Says Rashi, right? Let's. Shari Asherata, you're an usher, right? Deloy Efshaloi, a person that is not an usher, what does he do to go ahead and kasher his kalim? Mais, Amalei, Ano ke'ein chadata kamina. I didn't mean brand new. I mean ke'ein chadata. What do? Katayu, I take the handle, and betina, I cover it with clay. Because since I'm going to put it in hot water, I don't want it to melt. So I'm going to protect the handle. Uperzlayu, and the perzlayu and the iron, binura, that I'm going to put into a fire. So I'm going to put that one into a fire. Right? And then I go ahead, I take off the clay, and I put the handle in roiskin. Now, obviously, the handle does not get to use in the heat medium of the knife. So over here, apparently, you would need libun for the knife because it says he puts the prezlayu, the iron, in fire. However, whether the handle or the knife, that is beroischin. It's enough to do what we call hagala. Says Rashi, you don't have to put it in fire. The iron is enough, the same as the handle with hot. Okay. Now Tosfos brings another shita. Let's see. Tosfos zilchsa idri beroischin ema. The tanya b'tosefta avodah zara hasakin a knife. Vasher put a spit. There are askala a griddle. Melabnim ba'ar. They need libun. Ubeper kama dechulin amar kigoyin shalibna ba'ar. That what you heat it up with fire. Almat sarach libun. So questions Tosfos. How can we say that what? How can the Gemara say that's enough to do hagala? Over there you see it's mashma. You need libun, which again is a higher level than hagala. But here's the tam. The Amar Yerushalmi, the Mari b'sakinim aruchim. We're speaking about long knives. Shetzoilin b'hem basa. Dumya deshfud. Picture the cowboys over the fire. Take a big knife, stick the meat on it, and put it in the fire. So since they're being mishamish al yidei fire, again, what's the rule of thumb, guys? Kibolo kach polto. So therefore, you'd have to go ahead and use libun to clean it. V'chinahu dechulin. V'yoyit says Tosfos yesh lechalek, another bein hetera bala, bein isura bala. This is a very nafkaminin halacha, right? When would you need libun, guys? That's when it's boileya iser. Over here, it's not iser. Over here, it's chametz the rest of the year. That's heter. So by heter, it's enough to do hagala. Because we're speaking about the knives of Pesach. Knives of Pesach. When it was boileya, it was heter gomer. The mele, it's enough to do what? Hagala. Masha'inkein, that Gemara is speaking about something that was treif that go in. There you would need what? There you would need libun. Again, it's put down. Okay, that's Yehuda.
When do you need that? I think the Gemara avodah zara, you rub it in ash or you stick it in the ground.
You stick it in the ground. That's only to get rid of shamnunis. It's a big wives' tale that anything that is boileya, you think you stick it in the ground. Sticking it in the ground will only get off a coating, a cold coating, but not a belia of isser.
That doesn't help. Okay.
That doesn't help. No, that duchka. Again, by knives, we're very machmir because knives create their own heat. We call duchka de sakina when a person pushes down, right? The duchka de sakina. Okay, weiter. Yeshua, 8 porer. You have a mixing spoon that would mix a wooden spoon. It's enough to hagala with roischen and kli rishon. Ksavar kibolo, just as it takes in, kach polto, so it gives out. Hani mane de kunya. So here we're dealing with a kli cheres, guys, but it's glazed. It's covered with a film of lead. So the question is, does the food get through the lead into the kli cheres to go ahead and say you have to break it? Again, there's no kashering of kli cheres, guys. That's it.
Like China.
In other words, do you view a glazed lead like glass, or do you view it like kli cheres? China taka is a shaila, right? Corningware was the shaila on Corningware. Right. Corningware is a shaila. Right. Good china is a kli cheres. Good china really is a kli cheres, but this is This is Corningware. So the question is, how do you view it? The Gemara makes a chilik between green, black, and white. Right? Sounds like, so let's not go there. Right? Says the Gemara. Hani mili, hi mani dekunya. These glazed kalim. Can I use them on Pesach? Can I kasha them? Now Yeruka, if it's green, meaning the cheres was green, it was used green alum to go ahead and forge it. Loiti boilach de vade asiri. Vade it's asa, because that absorbs very much. So clearly, that's going to absorb despite the lead coating. Kiti boilach, when's it a shaila? Uchmi v'chiyuri, by black and white, a black and white cheres. Mai. Vehechi de ispe kirtufni. If there's cracks in the lead where it goes through, loiti boilach de vade asiri. Vade it's asa to use on Pesach. Kiti boilach the shi'i, where it's smooth. Mai. Do we say that what? It blocks it, or do we say it absorbs? So Amalei, so Amemar answered, Chazin and Lahu, we see these black and white, klicheres, the midaisi, that they sweat. In other words, you could see on the outside of the kli, you can see condensation. Where did it come from? It must have come from inside the kli. So you see that the lead lining does not stop the belia from penetrating the cheres, because on the outside we're seeing the condensation. Alma boli, we see it absorbs. The asiri, and therefore it's also to go ahead and use it on Pesach. Once it's in, it's in. So therefore on Pesach you would not be able to use them. The halacha is you can put them away, guys. The halacha is you can put these kalim away, put them in a safe spot. Again, they weren't geyser on a belia avissa. They were only geyser on a mamish be'en. The lashon of the Shulchan Aruch.
Especially if it wasn't used for
Beforehand, even right. They only made a knas and chametz that's be'en. Whatever is belua bekli is not considered chametz level of Pesach. You can use these kalim afterwards. In other words, fellas, if you forgot to sell your kalim, right? If you forgot to sell your kalim, you clean them out. Whatever is belua, whatever is absorbed, is not going to be asur after Pesach. Because we pass like of Shimon that chometz level of Pesach is asur, is mutter in ganzen. The whole reason we're geyser is as knas. But since it's belua, they weren't geyser on a belua, they were only geyser on something that was the end. Yes, Shalom, I'm sorry, yes.
You're not using it for 24 hours. Does it have that cool also? I mean, you're not. If you haven't
No. No, we don't do that. I'm just saying, if you would do that, you wouldn't ask for your food. Again, you don't go ahead and cook with Pesach during the year. You can't use milchits and fleshik pots a day apart. Right? You understand?
Correct. Yeah.
You can't. It's a heta if you do it, but of course you don't do it.
Rabbi, so when we're selling our chametz and you're selling your pots and everything, they don't mention to you that you're selling only the blias, you're not selling the pots.
Again, there's no reason to. I don't think you're even selling your pots. You're just putting them away. You're not really selling your pots. You're not selling your pots. You're putting them away. You're cleaning them out. You're making sure there's no dava be'en in them, and that's it. There's nothing. There's no chametz there. Anything that's there, you don't have to worry about.
We're not selling. I think that they say they're selling not the blee, any food that's stuck to the top, not blee even. I think that's what they're.
Again, you're cleaning. You make sure everything is clean. There's no be'en, and there's nothing to worry about. Okay, now says the Gemara. Okay, Fred the Gemara kasha. Umaish no le'inyan yayin nesech. What's the difference between chametz and hot food and kalim of yayin nesech? the Darish Marema, Mane de Kunya, again, the same ma'anim, the same kalim that are glazed. Bain uchmi, whether they're black, bain churi, whether they're white, and yeruki, even if they're green, shari is permitted. And we don't say they absorb the yayin esach. V'chitema yayin esach the rabbanon v'chametz the raisa. We say kol the tikkun rabbanon kein the raisa tikkun. So therefore, if they're also by chametz, it should be also by yayin esach as well. This is speaking about what we call stam yenam, guys. This is not speaking about yayin of avodah zarah. It's called stam yenam. Amalei. So he said to him, "Zeh tashmishu al yedei chamim, v'zeh tashmishu al yedei tzainin." Big difference. The kalim that store the wine in are cold. The chametz is hot. Where you're hot, then it gets absorbed into the walls of through the lead into the klicheres. Where on the other hand, it is cold wine, it stays confined to the film, the coating of lead. Rabbi bar Avama, Rabbi Chia bar Ashi, Amar Shmuel, Kol HaKelim shenishtamshu behen chametz b'tzainin, nishtamish behen matzah. Any keli that you use during the year for cold, you can go ahead and use for matzah on Pesach. Chutz min beis sa'ar. If it's a kneading bowl that you're going to knead in, sometimes the process of kneading, it'll delay, it'll be in there for a little while, and it'll get absorbed. Hoyel shechimtzu kasha. Since the fermentation of the dough is hard, it causes absorption. Absorption is usually through heat, and fermentation is a process that creates heat. Mamela gets absorbed. Rashi, ubeis charoises. Rashi says beis charoises seems to be a kli that you would put vinegar in and other stuff and seasoning. It's like a little bottle, the bottle of that Caesar vinaigrette. You shake it up. It's something like that. And that kebeis sa'ar, it's like a beis sa'ar, shechimutzu kosher, and therefore you would not be able to use it on Pesach. Dummy. Hani agnei de mechuza. These troughs of mechuza, hoyel v'tadiri lemelish pu chamira. Since they went ahead and they would use dough, they would go ahead and knead dough in it. Umashu chamira, umashu boy chamira. I read this wrong. Lemelish pu chamira, umashu behu chamira. Kibeisar shilchim kametz. Chametz. These kalim, they are like the beisar and it's kasha. Says the Gemara, kibeisar shilchim kasha pshita. It's pashit that these things what are you using them for? You're using as a trough. Some other time keeping the ravicha, since they're very wide, sholet be'avira, the ear is sholet in them, v'loy boli, and they don't go ahead and absorb, kimash malon, that they do absorb. Okay, Yetzim Dvareinu, you have a big bachloikis between Rashi and Tosfos, whether Rabbi's psak about Rad, or whether min b'mino is batal, is that limited to chametz like Tosfos, or all encompassing like Rashi, is a huge psak that plays it out in Shas. For chametz Baruch Hashem, most of us we have new kalim, plastic kalim. People use them. They use plastic though. I think we use plastic the whole yontif to ensure that there's no problem. Really, it's but again, shilas the tarubis. Also, we have a tremendous guys. All the self-cleaning ovens have a din of libun. All the self-cleaning ovens have a din of libun, so you're able to kasher your whole oven. In the old days, you couldn't kasher anything. You'd have to put these inserts in, stick them in. Now you can kasher everything. It's really a pleasure. The self-cleaning ovens, you can kasher your tops. You put all your tops that the whole year, the tops that you use for libun, the whole year, you put them in. They come out. There's an ash on top of it. It's well over 500 degrees. It's more than that. And there's no problem. So Baruch Hashem, to live in certain times. I thank you all for listening. Have a very, very good evening.
Have a good night. Feel good.